to come in. Minutes ago, the polls in Georgia closed. This is the Senate runoff race that will determine the balance of power and determine the magnitude of your second stimulus check fix-it bill and your third stimulus check bill, Biden stimulus. The balance of power is at stake tonight with two Senate seats to determine whether the Senate goes blue or stays red. It takes two Senate seats to take the Senate blue, or a split of the Senate seats would make the Senate red. That's where we are tonight, and the polls have just closed in Georgia. I have the breaking news of the live Georgia results tonight with you, and I'll be going live again right after this. There'll be a series of live recordings throughout the night. This is the first of them as Georgia Senate results continue to come in. Thank you for joining me, and this is Lalate direct from Los Angeles. Make sure you subscribe. Also, hit that alert button so you get alert when a new video goes live, and also like this video. I'll be going over your second stimulus check, your third stimulus check, and all the details and the impact from the Georgia races minutes ago. The Georgia polls are closed, and now the voting counting starts. But in Georgia, they do it a little bit differently. They're counting the absentee ballots and the early ballots first. Then they'll be counting the other ballots thereafter. What does this mean when we're looking at the impact of the ballots? Well, early ballot numbers seem to have been dominated by Democrats. In-person balloting voting is appeared to have been dominated by Republicans. So a certain surge early on among Democrats would not be unusual. And certainly it would take some time to see when those in-ballot numbers come in. All indications out of Georgia Secretary of State suggest that in about 30 minutes at the tail end of this video is when we're going to see the big surge of information. There's some initial polls out, initial numbers in currently. There are preliminary numbers with about 2, 3, 5, 10,000 votes. Initial numbers out show Warnock leading Loeffler 69% to 30%. That show Ossoff leading Perdue 69% to 30%. The numbers are very, very close. Just seconds before I press recording, they were actually the reverse. These are just 2,000, 3,000 ballots. The numbers and who is voting and how they're voting is actually quite interesting, as we see right now, because the new reports, the exit polls suggest that in the case of the run between Ossoff and Perdue, Perdue did better in early exit polls among suburbans, among the rural area, and among middle-aged people. Whereas Ossoff did better among younger people than he did in the last run. But there's not a lot of young people in Georgia compared to other states. So the impact that Perdue may have may be the most important. The incumbent is Perdue, and then the other incumbent is Loeffler. Loeffler and Perdue are battling to attain their Georgia Senate seats. Perdue is running against Ossoff, and Loeffler is battling against Warnock. But we're going to see the real surge of balloting in about 30 minutes from now. In about 30 minutes from now, we're going to start to see the massive surge of balloting. But when will we actually see some results? And how quickly would we know whether we have a winner? We may not know we have a winner for several days if it's a close call. The Secretary of State of Georgia is suggesting that it will take at least a Thursday to certify the winner, and that could ultimately delay the situation even longer. We may not have official certification until Friday. But for purposes of looking at the situation, if it's too close to call, we may be waiting until at least tomorrow or the day after to see how close it is. What is the impact on your second stimulus check? And what is the impact on everything for third stimulus and third stimulus package? Let me go over those details right now. And I'll have another update at the 15-minute mark, and then I'll have another update at the 30-minute mark. The big update is, someone said everyone vote bacon. You always vote bacon. There's never enough bacon in the room. What's important to know is that all four candidates have promised you a $2,000 stimulus check. That's the great news. All have promised you a $2,000 stimulus check. So the really issue is not who's going to get you the $2,000 stimulus check. The question is who's going to get you the big, bold, beautiful third stimulus package. Third stimulus package, is it going to be $800 billion or is it going to be $8 trillion? That's really what's on the line tonight. A Democratic win could mean a third stimulus package could be upwards of $5, $6, $7 trillion. A Republican win could mean the third stimulus package could be $800-900 billion, and that's about it. That could be ultimately the last stimulus package you see. The third stimulus package under a Democratic Senate could mean it's the first of several packages throughout this year. You could have a third stimulus package then, and then a fourth, and then a fifth, and then a sixth. But this may be the final stimulus package with the Republican Senate if that's what happens tonight or tomorrow. Ultimately, are you going to get things? You're going to get things. I had someone send me a really nasty, angry, mean DM on Facebook just about a half an hour ago. Said, if the Republicans win, don't ever see a penny this entire year. Don't see a penny. You're never going to see a penny of anything if the Republicans win. Well, that's just not true. I mean, that's not even what the Republicans say. The question is, who will see money? Are we going to PPP every 3 months will be another round of PPP. Every round will be another round of business grants and corporate grants. But to say that there's not going to be a single penny in 2021 for stimulus relief, the Republicans win, just not true. To say that one thing is one way or the other thing is the other way is just at this point not true. It is not true. A Republican win does not mean you're never going to see stimulus. In fact, Mitch McConnell himself specifically says there's going to be another stimulus package this month. That was his words, not once, but several times. So you're going to see more stimulus packages. The question is how many more and the magnitude of them. The issues are SSI and SSDI, hazard pay, EIDL grants, multiple stimulus checks, FPUC retro. Those things are really the questions that viewers ask. And where are the impacts? Anything that's over $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, you can see the impact of a red Senate. Hazard pay $10,000, EIDL $10,000, retro FPUC $12,000. You see where the big numbers hit, that's where the concern is if the Senate goes red. If the Senate state goes blue, then this is not a concern. What are things that are not concerns, whether the Senate goes red or blue? They're basically nonpartisan issues. Rent, food, utilities, not an issue, what happens tonight. And the SSI and SSDI, the $2,400. Not really a big issue tonight, is not going to be impacted by the results tonight because it's $200 a month. It's not a lot of money. It's only $2,400. It's over 12 months. And Republicans and Democrats have always wanted to give you an increase of veterans benefits. It's a system that's been broken for a long time. So the good news is that we all understand the impact of tonight, and the impact is not as dire as some angry people on Facebook would say. Y'all gonna die tomorrow. Just not gonna be the case. So some more polls are coming in. So when I went live, we were at less than 1% of polls in. We're now at 6% of the polls in. Ossoff is leading Purdue by about 35%, with 6% of the polls in. And in the second race, Warnock is leading Loeffler by about 35%. So ironically, exact same number, which would suggest that voters, at least in the early poll numbers, voted all blue or all red. They didn't really split the vote. Very, very interesting. Well, now we're at 7% of the votes in. So we have really ramped up. I've been on live for now 9 minutes. And in 9 minutes, we've gone from 0% of the polls reporting to 7%. I think that with all the entire country looking at the scandal between the President of the United States and the Secretary of State of Georgia, who's in charge of the voting, you're going to see these votes be done very to the book and very specific because everyone's watching and ensuring this is done right. This is not going to be one of those states where you see things drag on for 15 days. This is not going to happen. Across the board, the results will impact how soon you would see the $2,000 stimulus check as well. The $2,000 stimulus check needs a Senate vote. So when would that Senate vote happen? There have been conflicting reports as to when Georgia actually finalizes the certification of the vote. Earlier, it looked like it was Thursday. Now I'm hearing Friday. Ultimately, it's not going to be it's not going to be a long route for this. So, and we now know the great news is that the $2,000 stimulus check could land your bank account in 2 days, unless you're with TurboTax or H&R Block. Then you're having new issues. The issues of the $600 stimulus check manifested themselves across the board today, and I detailed them earlier. The $600 stimulus check is getting delayed for a series of reasons. One, if you're with H&R Block or TurboTax, they report a problem, a technical problem. Go to their website. They will have an update about that. If you file your taxes with a company like an H&R Block or TurboTax and you are delayed, go to their website. They have a lot of information for that. Then the other thing that is really manifesting itself a lot from comments on this channel, because you know more than anyone else, because when you see 15 people say the same comment in about 10 minutes, you know it's a problem, is a lot of you have said, hey, IRS has changed my account number, so it failed when they electronically tried. I don't know how they know that, but a lot of people have said that. So what that means is a lot of you are going to get a paper check that got electronic payment last time. It means you're not going to get this week. It means you're not going to get next week. You'll get the paper check the week after. Then the paper checks are a little slower than Steve Mnuchin represented. I would say less than 5% of the people got the paper check. H&R Block did my taxes, and I got in my stimulus check. Congratulations, Raylene. So it's just all over the place. As Chrissy Carter just said, what about the paper checks? I would say about 10% of viewers have gotten the paper checks, and about 90% have still not seen the paper checks. Those that have not gotten the paper checks, many know a friend of a friend who has gotten the paper check. But that's paper checks are slower than Mitch talking, says Danny. Okay, there we go. H&R Block switched banks and sent out new cards. So there you go. The great thing with if you are an H&R Block or any type of problem with that, they're going to fix that very quickly. The thing that I'm concerned about is IRS, and they're just so slow. And someone just dropped in the comments, did Biden win tonight? Biden's not winning tonight, not running tonight. So yeah, that's so we went from 6% to 8% of votes tallied in no less than 3 minutes of this recording. So we went from 6% to 8%, and now the lead by Ossoff over Purdue shrunk. It's now about 27%. So this would indicate consistency with what I started at the beginning of the recording. And Warnock is leading Loeffler 61% to 38%. What I reported at the top of this recording is that the way Georgia does their counting of ballots, they do the absentees, the early voting, the mail-in voting first, which is led by Democrats voters generally, and that they do the Republicans later. So you're going to see the Democrats early on way high, 20, 30% up. And then as the exit polls start to come in, which will be at about the bottom of the hour, then you're going to start to see the numbers narrow. For me, it's a sort of a technical issue as to figuring out when and how to record. This has always been a Mitch, the live recording on Afternoons LA. And you know that Evenings Check I sometimes do live at 6 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, we're going to have a lot of election results. So I may have to go early. I may have to go live with you earlier than 6. It's that sort of randomness of the night. We really don't know how fast things are going to come in Georgia. They're not giving us a lot of clarity, but they're saying that somewhere around 15 minutes from now, you're going to see an enormous surge of ballots come in. Those will be reflected in the percentage of numbers reporting. So we're at I started this recording 14 minutes ago at 0% recording. Then it went to 6% at the 9-minute mark, and now at the 14-minute mark, we're at 8%. A lot of details. Let me answer some of your great questions across the board. Is the $200 to be added to the SSI? It is. From the polls, I'm seeing the Democrats in the lead, but that could change. That is correct. That's not. Those are exit results. Those are actually voting results. Those aren't exit polls. So there you go. So good, says David. I don't know what's good, but yeah, congratulations. Congratulations. Someone said, just zip it and wait. I love that. Just zip it and wait. I guess the donut guys in the room. Just tell me when the exit results are in. I'm just eating my donut. No. Rocky Road ice cream. I called community action. They said they're behind on rent and utilities. I don't know what to do. Call another one. SNAP increased benefits. Yes. So some people are getting SNAP increases on benefits now for the month of January. Others are being told by their state that it's going to be coming in February and then continuing to July. So they're gonna be coming late. L8, I have a question. We'll drop the question on the screen. I have a question. Oh, okay. What's the question? Uh, OG baby. There you go. The SNAP 15% goes on top on the day you get benefits. Exactly. So it's going to come in your January benefits, but some people got the January benefits without the increase. So that's the issue. All the women in here think you're gorgeous. Well, thank you. Tip them nicely, please. Let's eat some blueberry donuts with blue sprinkles, says Jan. Well, there you go. Nothing yet on direct deposit for SSI. How quickly do you think we'll get the $2,000 stimulus check? That's a great question. It's now dependent on how quickly the Georgia Secretary of State can certify these benefits. If the Senate goes blue, but the Georgia Secretary of State can't certify the benefits until just Friday or Monday, then it's going to be delayed that number of days. I thought we could get this done by Friday and then send it to the president, but there is apparently more days to certify for benefits than I originally lost. Can we apply for? How do we apply for unemployment? You go to your state's unemployment website. Will everyone see it, the $2,000? Yes, the way that the Fix-It bill is everyone that made $49,000 or less will get the $2,000. What is your current help time? Oh, I missed the question. Waiting on Savannah, Georgia, waiting on $2,000. Vote Mitch. Well, there you go. Mitch is not up for voting tonight. Will next stimulus go off of your 2021 taxes? No. No, that's a great question. It's not going to go off your 2020 taxes. But yeah, this is a common question that we have a lot. And the question is, what are these things going off of? Are they going off the 2019 tax return or the 2020 tax return? It's going to be an issue for PPP, for EIDL, for a lot of these things, for the rent, for the utilities. So we really, they're not giving us a lot of clarity what these things are going off of. And I do think that takes a big issue. We have some new poll results coming in now at the 15-minute mark. Boy, I went a little bit longer. Let me give you the big update as we have 1,600 people in the room. Big developments out of Georgia. These are your Georgia election results for the Senate runoff races tonight. This is Lalate Afternoons. Thank you for joining me. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Go to the Fun's channel and hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the alert because I'm going to go live throughout the evening as more results come in. This is not the only live recording for election results. Also, like this video. Now, 10% of the votes are in. In 18 minutes, I started this recording with 0 votes in, and now 8% of the votes are in. Ballots are in. And now the races are insanely getting close. They were 30% apart at 5% of the polls reporting. Now at 10% of the polls reporting, they're about 8% apart. The numbers are about 54% to 45% for Democrats leading Republicans. Ossoff is leading Perdue 54 to 45, and Warnock is leading Loeffler for 54 to 45. So you're seeing the numbers for both races mirroring one another. Since I went live on this recording, whether it was 0% reporting or now 10%, you're seeing nearly the same number for both of the two races. That's the first thing we're seeing. Second, we're seeing the race tighten very quickly. At 10% of the ballots counted, we were seeing the Democratic lead shrink from 30% to 5%. 5% is already a tight race. The question is how tight this is going to be. Good point. Both need to win, both lose. Yes, if you need an update where we are, to win the Senate as blue, the Democrats have to win both races. And at this point, it doesn't look like the races are going to get split if these numbers hold up. Basically, the numbers on both races are looking exactly the same. So that's where we are at the moment. What about retroactive for stimulus? Yes, retroactive for stimulus is among the issues that will be impacted on tonight's races. Third stimulus check and third stimulus package. Biden stimulus is what's going to be impacted by tonight's race, not the $2,000 stimulus check. You're going to get a $2,000 stimulus check. The question is whether you're going to get 6 of them. You'll get 1 if the Senate goes red, and if it goes blue, maybe you get 6 of them. FPUC retro, yeah, you'll get it if the Senate goes red, but will you get it back 20 weeks at $600 a week at $12,000 a person? No. Hazard pay. Will you get it if the Senate goes red? Yes. Will you get it at $10,000? No. So that's the impact of where we are tonight. I want to also have a big update here for Southern California viewers. In Los Angeles County, major news just about an hour ago, the Los Angeles County supervisors approved a law that requires grocery store owners and pharmacy owners, basically drugstores, to pay a $5 an hour hazard pay to their current workers. So this is huge news. LA County passed a rule requiring the employers to pay 5%. So if you're a Rouse employee, if you are an Albertsons employee, and Rouse has not agreed to pay hazard pay in the last few weeks, then now you'll have to. This is for unincorporated parts of LA County. So it's a particular area. Really confusing. So let's say you work at the Rouse in Hermosa Beach, which is his own city, but also work at the Rouse at an unincorporated Rouse. I don't know where that is. Then do you get paid the money? I don't know. But it's great news, and it shows the push to get things fixed. Does anyone know what do you do if you don't receive the check? So for Amy, that's a great question. The $600. If you've not received your paper check, don't worry. No one's received it. 10% of the viewers have received the paper check. If you've not received the electronic check, give it a few more days. It's a little bit too early. Will I be live later on tonight? I will be live again tonight. I will be live again for Evening's Check, and then I'll be live for Purple. So I will be staying with you. This will not be the only election night result video. I was not even sure if I should call it election night video, if that turned off viewers or that added viewers, or if I stayed with just stimulus as the topic. But you see the scope of the magnitude of the coverage. So I'm covering everything. I'm answering your questions. Everything that's involved is what's being covered. You said $2,000 for those who make $49,000 or less. True? Yes, but there is another thing for that these bills. These bills basically say individual $49,000 or less. Or married couple, but then they also say we will pay you a little bit less than $2,000 up to a threshold, and that threshold for the married couple is about $175. So you can see it'll pay you less up to a threshold, and then it kicks out. LLA for President 2024. I appreciate that. Let me give you an update on the poll results, the election results as we are here tonight. Ballots are now at 13%. We're moving very fast. Ballots are at 13%. And the race is separating a little bit. It's about 5% now. The race was as close as 4% shortly minutes ago, but now it's about 5% with the Democrats, both Democrats leading by about 5% with 13% of the votes in. Really quite interesting. That is the current situation. The big issue could be young voters. Young voters moved more to Democrats. 2 to 3. A new report out of CNN minutes ago says that 2 in 3 voters under 30 years of age voted for the Democrats, up 54% from just November. But this is only 1 in 8 voters. So young people do not encompass a lot of the electorate in Georgia. There you go. What about if you don't file a tax return and was not employed? Will you get a stimulus check? Yes, of course, absolutely. But they need to know where you are. So presuming they know where you are, and that they is the IRS, then that's the big issue. If Republicans win, will they still give a retro but less amount? Absolutely, Frankie. So that's a great question. Frankie's asking what will we get retro? I assume he's referring to FPUC. Will Republicans give you FPUC retro if the House Senate goes red? Absolutely. But how much? It's this sort of obviousness. Maybe 4,000, 3,000, 5,000, not $12,000. Not $12,000 from July 25th to December 31st. No, that's not a Republican position to give each person $12,000. But 3, 4,000, yeah, maybe that. Going forward at $600 a week, going forward at $400 a week. I think everyone's going to give you more going forward per week than $300 a week. I think the $300 this time around was a sort of an emergency way to get the FPUC out the door. But I think Republicans would give you $400 a week going forward because that's what they did during the negotiations through much of the fall. Will teachers ever get get hazard pay? Absolutely, they're going to get hazard pay. They're just not going to get $10,000 if the House goes red. Again, anything that looks like you're getting 10, 12, 15, $20,000, never going to happen with a red Senate. But you're going to get money, just not $10,000 a person. I would like to see Mitch and Nancy both gone. I'm talking about the stimulus. Um, no one is going to give you retroactive stimulus except Cash Act. So I think that is a safe call for me to say that Congress's ability to cheat you out of stimulus checks for the months of April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, their ability to cheat you out of 9 stimulus checks is going to fly. I don't think we're ever going to get retroactive stimulus checks, with the exception of the person who didn't get paid their first stimulus check. I just think that's never going to happen. What the focus is now on stimulus checks going forward, multiple stimulus checks. Will there be EIDL grants to the Democrats? Yes, EIDL grants will be in full form if you are a Republican or Democrat. On the video right before this, which was called Third Stimulus Check and Third Stimulus Package, I go over all the items one by one. So watch that if you need more clarity. And I explain EIDL to PPP, which one you're going to get, how it's going to be reduced. We're still at about 13% of the votes in. The question is, when will we see votes, upwards of 70, 80% of the votes? 13% of the votes, you guys still understand, is a very small part of the electorate. So the question is when we're going to hit that big surge across the board. And that big surge of votes may take a few hours. As we come up on the 30-minute mark, let me answer a couple more questions. Hazard pay? Yes, you'll get hazard pay. When will we know the results? That's a great question from Sir Josh. So you'll know the results from Georgia tomorrow. But the question is, how much of them will we know tonight? I've been reporting throughout the entire week. I don't think you can see a winner by the end of tonight unless it's a runaway race. At the moment, it does not look like a runaway race. 13% of the votes tallied, and it's 5%. That's still tight. That's tight. So, what about stimulus checks for adult dependents? Will Republicans include them? That's a great question, Terry. I have no idea why adult dependents have been excluded along the way. So I don't see why they wouldn't for Terry, but I also don't understand why they've not been included. There's a real confusion as to why certain stimulus checks have been excluded along the way. For example, I said in one of the recordings today, I don't know why Republicans want to give $2,000 stimulus checks to kids. That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why they wanted to give $600 stimulus checks to kids. That seems, when they could have done $500. There's certain numbers that just don't make sense. Sometimes I think they just get lazy. And they just say, hey, just do 14. Let's just do 10. Yeah, just do something. I just don't understand that. Would TSA qualify for hazard pay? Yes. And there you go. So what's happening? Just got here. I appreciate just getting here. I'll have an update for you in about 30 seconds. My PUA says expire. It will switch from expired to active. The good news is that viewers are starting seeing that manifest themselves. This is one of those nights. My hair looks good. Oh, thank you. This is one of those nights where there's a lot of fun and a lot of laughter. Hello from South El Monte. Hello, Pablo from South El Monte. Someone sent me a message at. Someone sent me a message. I think it was at 1:00 West Coast time, which is like 4:00 on the East Coast, and said, "It's done. The Republicans won." It's like it had some graphics and some pictures. I'm like, the polls aren't even closed. The voting precincts aren't even closed. It's 2 more hours. What are you talking about? I don't know if it was someone trying to be funny or if they really believed it. It's just like, or maybe they're, watching it internationally. They just don't understand that the polls were still open. But as you approach the 30-minute mark, thank you for joining me on Afternoons LA. It's almost the evening. What's the evening on the East Coast? With live results of the Georgia runoff races, the two Senate races. The races are going to determine the balance of power in the Senate. A double win by the Democrats takes the Senate, but a split where one Republican and one Democrat wins would leave the Senate red. So far, the early results are starting to filter in. I went live about 30 minutes ago at 0% of the votes in, and then quickly they ran to about 6 or 7% of the early votes in. Georgia counts the absentee and the mail-in votes or the early voting numbers first. And those numbers showed the Democrats lean by 30% in the first 6% of votes in. By 13%, the numbers had shrunk. And as we sit here tonight, where are the numbers at the 17% mark? 30 minutes into this video, now at 17%. The races are actually widening. Whoa, that's so surprising. At 13% of the votes coming in, the races were about a 5% run, with the Democrats leaning by about 5% in both of the races. Now at 17% of the votes tallied, the races are about a 9% run, with both the Democrats running. Interesting. So now the Democrats have actually stretched out their lead, going from 13% of votes tallied to 17% of votes tallied. The numbers are coming in very quickly. The question is whether we're going to see a definitive win tonight or not. I'll be next live on evening's LLA Check, and then live again on Purple Power. Tonight's shows will be sort of a mixture of your stimulus and a mixture of election results. Thank you for joining me with 2,300 people in the room. I'll be continuing your election results, and I may be coming live earlier than normal because there's so much breaking across the board. Thank you for joining me. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also hit that alert button so you get alert when I next go live. Stay informed, stay focused, and I'll see you next on LLA. Take care.